Overview. In this video, we are going to see about overview of web publishing. Information publishing is the publishing of information on computer networks. A web server is a good example of an information publishing system. The web browser is the container into which web information is published. By far, the most practical way to publish information is with web technologies. The internet and intranets provide the platform for a wide range of information, either internally or externally. Publishing information is more than creating content. It is also about managing security, document flow, copyright, and other factors. Document management is a science into itself which includes storing, tracking, versioning, indexing, and searching for a document. Web pages are compound documents that can hold text and individual objects like pictures, sounds, videos, Java applets, ActiveX controls, and an electronic mail message with an attachment such as a graphic. The original purpose of compound documents was to provide a single place where users could store all the elements related to a document and, if necessary, send a document to someone else. SGML. In this video, we are going to learn about SGML. SGML, Standard Generalized Markup Language, is an international standard for the definition of device-independent, system-independent methods of representing text in electronic form. SGML is a meta-language, that is, a means of formally describing a language, in this case, a markup language. By markup language, we mean a set of markup conventions used together for encoding text. A markup language must specify what markup is allowed, what markup is required, what markup is to be distinct instead from text, and what the markup means. SGML provides the means for doing the first three documentation. Web hosting. In this video, we are going to learn about web hosting. If user visit any of the numerous sites that offer free space for the web pages, user might tend to disagree, but it comes with a few strings attached. Firstly, these servers offer limited space. One way to overcome the limited space factor is to put up pages at multiple sites and to link these pages. Secondly, the webmaster puts banner advertisements on the pages over which users have no control. That is how they earn revenue. Some sites require regular updation by their members, else membership is terminated. Thirdly, most of these sites cannot be used for commercial purposes. Of course, there are exceptions. When the site designing is completed, visit any of the sites offering web hosting services and register as a member. Follow the online instructions and fill out the application form giving personal details. Choose a member name and password. User might need to choose a member area, also called a neighborhood or pod as well. Websites are organized into categories based on themes like arts and literature, computers, music, etc. Within 24 hours, user will receive an email confirming the application. Read the instructions in the email carefully because they will contain the member name, password, and website address. It may also have details on how to upload pages to sites. There are basically three things to consider while web hosting: server reliability, enough storage and bandwidth, e-commerce capability. HTML. In this video, we are going to see about HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is a language for describing web pages. A markup language is a set of markup tags which describe document content. HTML documents contain HTML tags and plain text, where documents are also called web pages. HTML describes the structure of a page. HTML, by virtue of its HTML heritage, is a language for describing the structure of a document, not its actual presentation. The idea here is that most documents have common elements, for example, titles, paragraphs, and lists. Before start writing, user can identify and define the set of elements in that document and give them appropriate names. CGL. In this video, we are going to learn about CGL. The CGL, that is Core OpenGL API, is lowest level programming interface for the Apple implementation of OpenGL. CGL supports free screen OpenGL drawing and drawing to pixel buffers, which are a hardware accelerated off-screen drawing location. Any Cocoa or Carbon application can use CGL to get the most direct access to system functionality. The Cocoa classes that support OpenGL and the AGL API are each built on top of CGL. Documents Interchange Standards. In this video, we are going to learn about Documents Interchange Standards. Protocol uses different method of exchanging the information over the network. Connectionless and connection-oriented protocols. With server, user make a connection, and with HTTP is a connectionless protocol. With a connection-oriented protocol, clients connect to the server, make a request, get a response, and then maintain the connection to handle future requests. An example of a connection-oriented protocol is File Transfer Protocol (FTP). When user connects to an FTP server, the connection remains open after user download a file. The maintenance of this connection consumes system resources. A server with too many open connections quickly gets overloaded. Consequently, many FTP servers are configured to allow only 250 open connections at one time, so only 250 users can access the FTP server at once. The drawback to connectionless protocol is that when the same client requests more data, the connection must be re-established. To web users, this means a delay whenever they request more information. Stateless and stateful protocol. There are two kinds of protocols for the processed transactions on the internet. These are stateless and stateful protocols. In a stateless protocol, no information about a transaction is maintained after a protocol. State information is kept even after a transaction has been processed. Servers using stateful protocols maintain the information about status of the connection, processes running, and status of the processes running. Usually, this state information resides in memory and consumes system resources. When a client breaks a connection with a server running a stateful protocol, the state information has to be cleared up and is often logged as well. Components of web publishing. In this video, we are going to learn about components of web publishing. There are various components of web publishing: document management, hosting to web, managing security, maintaining the site, copyright. Document management. Document management is a science into itself. The Windows and Macintosh environments were important in developing the concept of compound documents. A compound document starts as a document created in an application like Microsoft Word, that is, it starts as a text document. The document is viewed as a container that can hold objects such as graphics, voice clips, and video clips. These objects are either embedded or linked. Embedded object. as embedded objects such as picture travels with the document but can still be edited using an appropriate application. Linked object. A linked object may be stored in another location. The document simply contains a link to the object at that location and may display it as well. Web page design consideration. In this video, we are going to see about web page design consideration. Designing an effective website requires more than just gathering relevant information and posting it on the web. Like a good paper or research presentation, a quality web project demands as much attention to the selection, organization, and presentation of material as to the underlying research itself. Users should strive above all to be both clear and engaging in every aspect of site design. Here are some concrete suggestions for making the site a winner. Before begin, site layout, the web medium, the front door, accessibility, the end game. Before begin, consider the audience and the goals. User should have a clear sense of who will be using the site, mostly college undergraduates, and what kind of experience user are hoping to provide. What exactly are you trying to accomplish here? Why is this important? Plan the site on paper first. User can draw a family tree of pages with arrows indicating links, or user can make a hierarchical outline. Either way, it is essential to organize the information and lay out the architecture of the site before attempting to implement the vision. Site layout. Strive for consistency. User want a project to have an identity, so all the pages in the project should have a common feel. There should be consistency among backgrounds, color schemes, navigational tools, and tone of voice. This is especially important if user is dividing up the site's pages among several team members. Otherwise, the project will seem like 2 or 3 separate projects lumped together rather than a single unified whole. Provide a rich set of links within the site. Ideally, there should be multiple ways for the user to navigate their pages. Users should consider including a prominent home link or icon on each page, a menu or table of contents, and highlighted links within textual material to related information elsewhere on the site. Feel free, of course, also to provide links to other pages within ECE or elsewhere on the web. Don't hide important information. Users don't like to click too many times to find the information they want. If information is particularly important, make it accessible upfront. On any given page, remember that, as with a newspaper, the top left corner is the most prominent. See the National Geographic website for a good example. The web medium. Provide opportunities for interaction. How is your site any different from a traditional print document? How can you involve the reader in ways that non-digitized text usually cannot? Interactivity can be a compelling, innovative means of engaging your reader and creating experiences that cannot be replicated in other media. Good examples are: make your way as an 18th century women's site on ECE and the site for the Louvre Museum in Paris. Avoid text-only pages. Ideally, a user should never encounter an entire screen full of uninterrupted text in browsing the site. Again, take advantage of the web medium. Don't sacrifice elegance for pizzazz. Just because you can make images fly across the screen doesn't mean you necessarily should. Every design element of the site, that is colors, images, animation, ought to correspond thematically with the content and goals of the project. See the Enigma site for a representative example. Provide a link for every URL that you mention in the site. If the bibliography or notes include a citation for another website, list the URL in full but make it clickable as well so that the user can go directly to the site in question. The front door. Give the site a descriptive title. The title should convey the content of the site in a concise but engaging manner. Remember, the title is how the site will be identified on the ECE home pages. Ideally, it should pique the curiosity of users and prompt them to explore the project pages. Include a brief introduction. This should be a part of the site's homepage and should explain the scope and purpose of the site. Once users have noticed the title and followed a link to the site, they will expect quickly to find a further elaboration of the title, a brief paragraph or two describing what the site is all about and what makes it interesting. Users have caught the people's eye with the title. The introduction is a chance to heighten their interest and persuade them to actually stick around and explore. Make the site's homepage as useful a starting point as possible. The viewer should be able to see at a glance what the site is about, how it is laid out, and what kinds of resources and features it includes. Ideally, all of this information, along with your site title and an introduction, should be visible on a single fast-loading screen that requires a minimum of scrolling. Accessibility. Make sure your text is legible. Check the size, color, and font of all text within the site to confirm that it can be easily read. Be especially careful of dark or fancy backgrounds that make text hard to read. Make sure the site is platform independent. The site should be viewable on both Mac and Windows machines using either of the most commonly available browsers, Netscape and Explorer. Consider the needs of the viewers. Think about the bandwidth the site will require. Keep in mind that not all users will have the luxury of an Ethernet connection. Minimize the memory requirements of the site by compressing images and other large files, and make sure all your images have alt text behind them. This makes the site accessible both to low vision users and users with slow modems who have turned the image off. The end game. Thoroughly test the site. Ask a friend to sit down and explore the site. Ask them to think out loud and watch them navigate the site. Do they get lost? Do they have trouble finding links? Do they have trouble understanding the labels? Do they understand the prose? Ideally, designers should elicit and incorporate feedback about the site in the course of developing it as well as when it's nearing completion. Be sure to test the site both of the most commonly used browsers, Netscape and Internet Explorer. Check carefully for spelling and grammatical errors before posting the written materials to the web. Web page design principles. In this video, we will understand about web page design principles. There are many principles of effective web design. Some of them are: good design is innovative. Good design makes a product useful. Good design is aesthetic. Good design makes a product understandable. Good design is unobtrusive. Good design is honest. Good design is long-lasting. Good design is thorough down to the last detail. Good design is environmentally friendly. Good design is as little design as possible. Search engines. In this video, we are going to see about search engines. The search engine is a web program that enables the users to enter words and phrases to search and scan the vast information on the web to locate sites that matches the words or phrase. A web search engine is a software system that is designed to search for information on the World Wide Web. The user can locate useful or interesting websites by using a search engine. This is an organization
with a website containing a huge database of website addresses. Search engines also maintain real-time information by running an algorithm on a web crawler. When a query is typed in the form of subject or a name that describes what users are seeking, and search engine provides with a list or selection of website addresses that fit the inquiry. The user can then simply click on an address to jump to that website. Search engine optimization, SEO. Search engine optimization is the process of increasing the visibility of a website or a web page in a search engine's natural search results. It is the process of optimizing the web page contents to increase its relevance to specific keywords and to remove barriers to the indexing activities of search engines. SEO makes the website more efficient and visible to its users during the search. Web search engines. A web search engine is an interactive tool that helps to locate documents on the internet containing terms being searched by the user. Search engines use the bottom-up approach for finding your way around the web. You give a search engine a list of keywords or phrases called a query, and it returns you a list of web pages that contain those words or phrases. In other words, search engines are actually databases that contain references to thousands of resources. Users are able to interact with the database, submitting queries that ask the database if it contains resources that match specific criteria. Some search engines search only the title of web pages, some by Uniform Resource Locator, that is URL, some by words in each document in a website, and some by a combination of these. Each search engine has its own way deciding which of the web pages on its list is most likely to be the one that you are looking for. Some allow more complicated queries than others, where keywords can be combined with Boolean, that is logical operations such as and, or, and not, to produce rather complicated queries. The rules combining these operations are called the syntax of the search engine. There is an art in designing queries that result in a search engine returning a useful list to you. Given the vast number of web pages, a query that is too general may fill literally millions of web pages, most of them useless to you. A query that is too specific may miss many web pages that you would have liked to see. Each engine is also defined as an online utility that quickly searches thousands of web documents for a word or phrase being searched. List of search engines: Google, Yahoo, Ask Jeeves, DuckDuckGo, Cosmix, Yabol, Bing, MSN. Working of search engines. Search engines are information retrieval system designed to help find information stored on a computer system. There are many types of search engines, but we would limit our discussion to web search engines which search for information on World Wide Web. Search engines were started with an idea to ease the process of finding information on the internet. A search engine consists of 3 parts. First part is the spider, which is also called the crawler or bot. This spider part visits a web page, reads it, and then follows links to other pages within the site. This process is often referred to as crawling or spidering. Crawling of a website is done on a very regular basis. The spider visits a website following links from other website or website submission it received. The content that spider finds is sent to its database or index, as it is popularly known. This index is like a huge book that contains a copy of web page or catch that the spider finds out. Second part. This constitutes a second part of a search engine. It also stores the structure and the way pages are linked to each other. This information would be updated every time when there is a change in content or linking. Third part. Third part of a search engine is search engine software that works behind the interface when we use a search engine. This software will shift through the trillions on indexed pages to match the search query that user has asked. The pages are ranked by search engines, and the search results are based on this ranking and relevance to search term. This is how a search engine determines what order shall be listed for a particular search. Meta search engines. In this video, we are going to see about meta search engines. Meta search engine is a search tool that sends user requests to several other search engines and or databases and aggregates the results into a single list or displays them according to their source. Meta search engine enables user to enter search criteria once and access several search engines simultaneously. Search engines provide fast retrieval of information of interest from the web. The problem of knowing where search engines are, how to use them, poses some difficulties. Furthermore, empirical results indicate that only 45% of relevant results will likely be returned by a single search engine, that is, each has a recall rate of 45%. This limitation is compounded by the fact that the coverage of a typical search engine is between only 5% to 30% of the web. Meta search engines are designed to mitigate such problems by accessing multiple individual search engines. The system architecture of a meta search engine that contains the following components. The architecture of a meta search engine: query interface module, responsible for getting users' query input; dispatch module, responsible for determining from which search engines a specific query is sent; a knowledge-based module, used by the dispatch module to perform decision making, that is optional; interface agents module, responsible for interacting with different search engines using different query formats; evaluation module, responsible for ranking results according to some predefined evaluation methods, optional; display module, responsible for displaying results. Meta search engines operate on the premise that the web is too large for any one search engine to index it all, and that more comprehensive search results can be obtained by combining the results from several search engines. This also may save the user from having to use multiple search engines separately. The process of fusion also improves the search result. Web meta search engines. A web meta searcher, also known as mega indexes, is a tool that helps user to locate information available via World Wide Web. Meta searchers do not have their own database. Instead, they have access to other primary search engines. Web meta searches provide a single interface that enables users to search many different search engines, indexes, and databases simultaneously. There are a number of web searches available. The content of search engines, indexes, and databases vary. The same query typed into several search engines is likely to produce different results. When searching a topic, users often want to see results from various sources. One way to compare the results of several search engines is to type and retype a query into individual search engines one at a time. This can be very time-consuming. A meta searcher helps to make this task more efficient by providing a single interface where the query is typed in one and results can be obtained from multiple search engines. Meta searchers are different from other search engines and indexes in the following respects. Single search engine and indexes provide a collection or database of resources that can be queried. Meta searchers do not provide a database. That is, these search engines do not collect web pages, do not accept URL, and do not classify or review websites. Instead, they provide service to search the database of several other search engines at the same time to locate web pages that matches query given by the user. Example of web meta searches includes all-in-one search, electric library, Savvy search, Profusion, Metacrawler. World Wide Web, WWW. In this video, we are going to see about World Wide Web, WWW. Introduction to World Wide Web, that is WWW. World Wide Web, abbreviated as WWW or W3, commonly known as the web, is a system of interlinked documents that are accessed via the Internet. The term Internet and WWW are often used in everyday speech without much distinction. In 1989, a small group of people led by Tim Berners-Lee at CERN, that is Conseil Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire or the European Laboratory for Particle Physics, proposed a new protocol for the Internet as well as a system of document access to use it. The intent of this new system, which the group named the World Wide Web, was to allow scientists around the world to use the Internet to exchange documents describing their work. Web or Internet. It is important to understand that the Internet and the World Wide Web are not the same thing. The Internet is a collection of computers and other devices connected by an equipment that allows them to communicate with each other. The web is a collection of software and protocols that has been installed on most, if not all, of the computers on the Internet. The Internet was quite useful before the web was developed, and it is still useful without it. Web is a collection of interconnected documents and other resources linked by hyperlinks and URLs. Thus, in short, the web is an application running on the Internet. Viewing a web page begins either by typing the URL of the page into a web browser or by following hyperlinks to that page. World Wide Web, WWW. With a web browser, one can view web pages that may contain text, images, videos, and other multimedia and navigate between them via hyperlinks. provide a graphical interface, allow you to create links from one piece of information to another, can incorporate references to text, graphics, sound, and movies or multimedia. The World Wide Web is non-linear with no header and footer. The meaning of non-linear is users do not have to follow a hierarchical path to information resources. The web is based on a client-server system. We use a web client to communicate with a web server. A web server is a computer connected to the internet that runs a program which is also called web server that takes responsibility for sorting, retrieving, and distributing some of the web files. A web client or web browser is a computer that requests files from the web. An URL specifies the protocol to be used in accessing the resource, the name of the server on which the resource resides, and optionally the path to a resource. For example, http://www.nielit.in. Hypertext Transfer Protocol is the standard protocol that allows web clients and servers to communicate. This protocol is used to carry requests from a browser to a web server and to transport pages from the web server back to the requesting browser. The hypertext markup language is the universal language of the web. It is used for writing pages for the web. HTML allows text to include codes that define fonts, layout, embedded graphics, and hypertext links. HTML can be compared to word processing. User can tune into web radio and TV broadcasts and listen to live broadcasts or call up older ones from the archives.
Browser. In this video, we are going to learn about browser. To access the World Wide Web, you use what is called a web browser. Browsers are sometimes also called web clients that use Hypertext Transfer Protocol to make requests to web servers. When you follow a hyperlink, the browser, acting like a client, sends a request to a site on the internet. That site, acting like a server, returns a file which the browser then has to display. When you run a web client, that is web browsers like Netscape Communicator or Microsoft's Internet Explorer on your computer, the client contacts a web server and requests information or resources. The web server locates and sends the information to the web browser, which displays the results. Thus, browsers allows you to enter the address of the site you want to jump to, called a URL or Uniform Resource Locator, or to jump there by clicking hotspots, highlighted words, buttons, pictures, or icons called hyperlinks on your screen. Formats web documents for display on your screen. Allows you to back up and go forward through pages you have already visited. Allows you to copy text from screen and paste it into a word processing program. Allows you to print the document you see on the screen. Makes it possible to transfer files, text, graphics, movies, animations, sounds, and programs from other computers to your computer, called downloading. Also provides access to new groups. Allows you to send and receive email and other internet services such as FTP, that is File Transfer Protocol, Gopher, and Usenet News Group. Web browsing software. A web browser is a software application used for presenting and traversing the information on World Wide Web, including web pages, images, video, and other necessary files or data required by users. Web browser is not hardware, it is a software. A web browser is a client-side software program which communicates with web servers on the internet and requests information wanted by users. It also enables uploading and downloading of files. The web address of a particular object published on the web is known as URL, that is Uniform Resource Locator. Each object in the web is identified or searched with the help of URL. Popular web browsing software. The most popular web browsers access the globe: Microsoft's Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Firefox, Apple's Safari, Opera. Functions of web browser. The web browser gets URL, that is Uniform Resource Locator, of the site and understands the web address of DNS, that is Domain Name Server hyperlinks. It identifies the web page and formats the web documents to display on the screen. The web browser helps user to have a history and go back and forward through pages that have already visited. The web browser makes possible to copy text from the web page and paste it into a word processing program or as desired by users. Web browser helps to print the web documents or pages. The web browser makes possible to transfer online documents to user's computer, called downloading. The web browser allows user to send and receive emails through webmail. Purpose of web browsing software. Web browser software sends the required information to the web server and gets the information, and then it displays the result on the user computer. Simply, internet browsers are the tools we use to navigate through millions of websites. A web browser has the ability to interpret or display many types of stored files like HTML and other browser-supported files even when they are not connected to the internet. Especially in Windows 2000, Internet Explorer is a built-in browser that enables users to open most image files quickly. Web browsers are used for businesses, marketing, education, and information gathers about subjects, medical, etc. Web browser makes it easier to get the most from the World Wide Web, whether users are searching for new information or browsing the favorite websites. Web browser helps the user to open several web pages at the same time. Web browser allows the user to maintain his visited web page history and also to store web pages as favorites. User can switch between many different web pages easily. To configure a web browser, configuring Internet Explorer to default settings. Open the Internet Explorer and click the Explorer menu. Then select the Internet Options menu. Internet Options dialog box gets opened. Then select the Advanced tab from the Internet Options dialog box. Click the Reset button. Check the Delete Personal Settings option and then click the Reset button from Reset Internet Settings dialog box. Finally, click the Close button. Configuring Chrome to default settings. Open the Chrome browser and click on Chrome menu. Then select Settings from the menu. Enter Reset Browser in the Search Settings option. Then click the Reset Browser Settings button. From the dialog box, click the Reset button. Then close the browser and open again. HTTP. In this video, we are going to learn about HTTP. The Hypertext Transfer Protocol (HTTP) is an application-level protocol for distributed collaborative hypermedia information systems. This is the foundation for data communication for the World Wide Web, that is Internet, since 1990. HTTP is a generic and stateless protocol which can be used for other purposes as well, using extension of its request methods, error codes, and headers. Basically, HTTP is a TCP/IP based communication protocol which is used to deliver data, that is HTML files, image files, query results, etc. on the World Wide Web. The default port is TCP/80, but other ports can be used. It provides a standardized way for computers to communicate with each other. HTTP specification specifies how clients' request data will be constructed and sent to the server and how servers respond to these requests. Basic features of HTTP. There are following 3 basic features which makes HTTP a simple but powerful protocol. HTTP is connectionless. The HTTP client, that is browser, initiates an HTTP request, and after a request is made, the client disconnects from the server and waits for a response. The server processes the request and re-establishes the connection with the client to send response back. HTTP is media independent. This means any type of data can be sent by HTTP as long as both the client and server know how to handle the data content. This is required for client as well as server to specify the content type using appropriate MIME type. HTTP is stateless. As mentioned above, HTTP is a connectionless, and this is a direct result that HTTP is a stateless protocol. The server and client are aware of each other only during a current request. Afterwards, both of them forget about each other. Due to this nature of the protocol, neither the client nor the browser can retain information between different requests across the web pages. HTTP architecture. The HTTP protocol is a request-response protocol based on client-server-based architecture where web browser, robots, and search engines, etc. act like HTTP clients and web server acts as server. Client. The HTTP client sends a request to the server in the form of a request method, URI, and protocol version followed by a MIME like message containing request modifiers, client information, and possible body content over a TCP/IP connection. Server. The HTTP server responds with a status line including the message protocol version and its success or error code, followed by a MIME like message containing server information, entity meta information, and possible entity body content. HTTP version. HTTP uses a major-minor numbering scheme to indicate versions of the protocol. The version of an HTTP message is indicated by an HTTP version field in the first line. Here is the general syntax of specifying HTTP version number. Example. Uniform Resource Identifiers URI. Uniform Resource Identifiers URI is simply formatted, case-insensitive string containing name, location, etc. to identify a resource, for example, a website, a web service, etc. A general syntax of URI used for HTTP is as follows. Here, if the port is empty or not given, port 80 is assumed for HTTP and an empty ABS underscore path is equivalent to an ABS underscore path of /. The characters other than those in the reserved and unsafe sets are equivalent to their %, hex encoding. Date time formats. All HTTP date timestamps must be represented in Greenwich Mean Time, that is GMT, without exception. HTTP applications are allowed to use any of the following 3 representations of date timestamps. Character sets, User use character set to specify the character sets that the client prefers. Multiple character sets can be listed separated by commas. If a value is not specified, the default is US ASCII. Example: following are valid character sets. Content encodings. A content encoding values indicate an encoding algorithm has been used to encode the content before passing it over the network. Content codings are primarily used to allow a document to be compressed or otherwise usefully transformed without losing the identity. All content coding values are case insensitive. HTTP 1.1 uses content coding values in the accept encoding and content encoding header fields. Example: following are valid encoding schemes. Media types. HTTP uses Internet media types in the content type and accept header fields in order to provide open and extensible data typing and type negotiation. All the media type values are registered with the Internet Assigned Number Authority (IANA). Following is a general syntax to specify media type. The type, subtype, and parameter attribute names are case insensitive. Example: language tags. HTTP uses language tags within the accept language and content language fields. A language tag is composed of one or more parts, a primary language tag and a possibly empty series of subtags. Whitespace is not allowed within the tag and all tags are case insensitive. Example tags include HTTP request header. The information in the form of a text record that a user's browser sends to a web server containing the details of what the browser wants and will accept back from the server. The request header also contains the type, version, and capabilities of the browser that is making the request so that server returns compatible data. Upon receipt of the request header, the server will return an HTTP response header to the client that is attached to the files being sent. HTTP response header. The information in the form of a text record that a web server sends back to the client's browser in response to receiving an HTTP request. The response header contains the date, size, and type of file that the server is sending back to the client and also data about the server itself. The header is attached to the files being sent back to the client. Publishing tools. In this video, we are going to learn about publishing tools. Hardware. The most important item is the computer hardware, which must have a modem or network connection to allow access to the internet. The type of computer will obviously be dependent on user's budget. The power of the computer, how fast it will run, depends on processor speed and RAM, that is random access memory. Most computers in schools use either the PC, Windows, or the Macintosh operating system. Software. User will need the following software before they begin creating the web pages. A text editing package, for example, Notepad in Windows or Simple Text in Mac. Graphics processing software, for example, PaintShop Pro. A web browser. The two most commonly used today are Microsoft Internet Explorer and Netscape Navigator. It may be a good idea to have both these browsers on the computer and to test the web pages on each. Other useful tools. Hardware. A scanner, handy for including project work and or photographs on your website. There are two main types, handheld or flatbed. Digital stills camera simplifies the process of including high-quality photos on the website. Video camera can be analog or digital. Software: HTML editor, image mapping software, animation software.